Baruch Hashem, we wrap up another incredible week of learning 5 minutes of tefillah together. And even though it's Thursday and we're wrapping up the week, we begin a new Lashon of tefillah, the second to last of all the Lashonos. We're up to a Lashon called Amida, literally standing, as the pasuk in Bamidbar says, Vayamoid Pinchas, and Pinchas stood, Vayipalel, and he davened. Says Rav Shimshon Pincus, and the truth is, before we even begin, we should just read that pasuk again. Vayamoid Pinchas, and Pinchas stood, Vayipalel, and he davened. So one would ask, 1 second, we're saying that Amida is a type of tefillah, but the pasuk says, Vayamoid Pinchas, Vayipalel, that he stood up and then davened. So Rav Shimshon Pincus explains what's going on over here is that the act of Amida, the act of standing, is in its very essence the first tefillah one utters before he even opens his mouth. An absolutely incredible idea. Pinchas stood up. You stand, which will explain what that means. That's a form of tefillah. And then he continues by davening. How is standing a form of tefillah? Explains to Shimshon Pincus that the entire etzem and mitzios of one being batel, being nullified to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, happens when one stands up. What happens when we sit? Let's envision just sulking into a couch, into a nice recliner. All our bones, our entire body is kaved, is heavy. Atzmais of kavedais, we just sink in as we sit down. An act of sitting is an act of self-glorification. Whereas when we stand up, what are we doing? We're nullifying our physical bodies to whatever we're standing up in front of. So when we stand in tefillah, what are we doing? We're getting up, we're ridding ourselves, the first step of ridding ourselves of our physical bodies, and therefore that itself is a form of prayer as we nullify our very self when we stand in davening. And his words are beautiful. He says, Tekef imo ha'amida, with the standing, which is what? Shehi hisbatlus. Standing is an act of hisbatlus, is an act of nullifying one's physical self. And what happens? Noifeles hamechitza hagedola shebeinoi lebein bayroi. The great separation, the great barrier between man and his creator falls away. We stand up, we get rid of our guf, we get rid of our physical bodies, and therefore what happens? There's no more separation. We're right there with Hashem. What happens at that moment? Mimela, the devekos ha'atzuma and iskarvos hamiyuchades, we're connected. The moment we stand up to daven, stand up in front of Hashem, our physical bodies are slowly fading away, and our neshama and our very core is connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is the reason why the Amida itself, in as much as he explains, one really only has to stand by Shemona Esrei. But the very act of standing is a form of prayer without even opening up your mouth. And he quotes the Chovos HaLevavos, which says that what is the kavanah of tefillah? Ki im kalus hanefesh Elokim, is the soul's longing, pining to be with Hashem, ukni asa lefanav, and one's subjugation in front of Hashem, imrei memusay lebayrei v'shivcha v'idasa l'shmai, to the great and lofty God that we're talking to, v'ashlachas kol yahavi v'alav, and throwing our burden on Hashem. And this, of course, happens and begins with the act of standing, because as we stand, our bodies fade away, our neshama comes out and slowly begins to connect with its creator. And he continues this, and with this we'll conclude, that this is in reality how tefillah touches at nevuah. Because what is nevuah? Nevuah, prophecy, is when one is completely rid of all physicalities and is 100% connected to Hashem. Says Rav Shimshon Pincus, when we stand up and daven, that's the smallest form. It's a form of nevuah, it's a form of prophecy. As well, our bodies are fading away as our neshama is connecting, which is the reason why during nevuah the body shakes, because there's no more body, it's pure neshama, it's pure kedusha and holiness connecting to Hashem. That is as well what is happening when we do the Amidah, when we stand up and begin the first prayer to Hashem and then continue by davening.